The person making $155,000 a year is not automatically ahead. In fact, in many cases, they're under more pressure, more locked into their lifestyle, and closer to financial stress than someone earning half as much. And that sounds wrong until you actually break down what's happening behind the scenes. Same city, same age, similar education, but one of them is building flexibility and the other is slowly building obligations. And from the outside, you can't even tell the difference, because one looks like success and the other looks average. But the numbers tell a completely different story. And the reason this happens isn't one big mistake. It's a system. A system almost everyone falls into without noticing. Most people think earning more is the solution. You just increase your income and everything else fixes itself automatically. But money doesn't behave like that in real life. It doesn't stack. It flows. It comes in, moves through your decisions, and then leaves. And what matters isn't how much comes in, it's what happens in the middle. Because if every increase in income is matched by an increase in spending, your situation doesn't improve. It just scales. You don't feel richer. You just feel like you're managing bigger numbers. And over time, those bigger numbers come with bigger expectations, bigger commitments, and less room to make mistakes. Most people don't upgrade their life intentionally. They drift into it. One decision at a time, one small improvement, one justified expense. And each step feels reasonable on its own. That's what makes it so hard to catch. You don't wake up one day and decide to become financially stretched. You just keep saying yes to slightly better versions of what you already have. And eventually, those slightly better decisions stack into a lifestyle that requires a high income just to maintain. At that point, your income isn't creating freedom, it's supporting a structure that depends on it. And that's when earning more stops feeling like progress and starts feeling like pressure. Your brain is incredibly good at adapting. That's useful in a lot of situations, but financially, it can work against you. Because the moment something improves your life, your brain starts to normalize it. Not in years, not in months, sometimes in weeks. The apartment that once felt like a major upgrade becomes just home. The higher quality food becomes standard. The convenience becomes expected. And once something becomes expected, removing it doesn't feel neutral. It feels like losing something. That's how your baseline moves upward without you making a conscious decision. And here's the dangerous part. Your income might increase slowly, but your expectations adjust instantly. That gap between expectation and reality is where financial stress lives. The biggest financial decisions in your life won't feel big when you make them. They'll feel small, manageable, even boring. Because they're usually framed as monthly costs, not lifetime impact. And your brain is wired to evaluate what's in front of you, not what unfolds over time. So a $200 increase doesn't trigger concern. A $300 subscription stack doesn't feel dangerous. But stack enough of those together, and you've quietly redirected a massive portion of your income away from your future. And the problem isn't that you're spending. The problem is that you're not seeing the full picture when you do. You're making long-term decisions with short-term awareness. There's a layer of spending that most people don't talk about because it's uncomfortable to admit. And that's the part of your spending that's influenced by other people. Not directly, not consciously, but it's there. What you consider normal is shaped by what you see around you. Online, at work, in your social circle. And once something becomes normal, it stops feeling like a choice. It feels like the baseline you're supposed to meet. That's how external standards slowly become internal expectations. And once that happens, reducing spending doesn't feel like optimization. It feels like falling behind. The upgrade loop is subtle, but it's incredibly powerful. Because it doesn't require a reason. It only requires availability. If a better version exists, your brain starts to question the current one. Not because it's broken, but because it's no longer the best. And over time, that shift from works fine to could be better becomes the default way you evaluate everything. And when that becomes your standard, spending increases without any real increase in satisfaction. You're chasing improvement, but the feeling of improvement doesn't last long enough to justify the cost. One of the most underestimated forces in spending is how one decision changes the context of everything else. You don't just buy something, you change the standard around it. And once that standard changes, other things start to feel out of place. So you adjust them, and then something else no longer fits. So you adjust that too. And by the time you step back, you've made 5 or 6 additional decisions that all trace back to one starting point. That's why a single upgrade often ends up costing much more than it appears. A raise feels like progress, and it is, but only if it changes your trajectory, not just your lifestyle. The problem is that most people don't pause when their income increases. They continue the same pattern, just at a higher level. And because the increase feels deserved, the spending that follows feels justified. But if every raise gets absorbed into your lifestyle, your financial position doesn't improve. It stabilizes at a higher cost. And now you need that higher income just to maintain where you are. That's when your income stops being an advantage and starts being a requirement. The real question isn't how much you make. It's how much space you've created between you and your next financial problem. Because problems are not optional. They will happen. What changes is how you experience them. Without a buffer, every problem feels urgent. Every decision feels pressured. With a buffer, the exact same problem becomes manageable, and that difference changes how you think, how you act, and how you recover. That's what financial stability actually is, not perfection, but margin. So the real trap isn't low income. It's a system where your lifestyle expands just fast enough to keep you in the same place. And once that system is in place, earning more doesn't move you forward. It just increases the scale of everything you're already doing. More income, same pattern, same outcome. So think about this honestly. Not what sounds right, not what you want to believe, but what's actually happening. If your income doubled tomorrow, would your future change? Or would your lifestyle just expand to match it? That answer tells you more about your financial system than any spreadsheet ever will. Drop it in the comments. I read them, and I want to see how many people are actually aware of this pattern. And if this gave you a different perspective, subscribe, because understanding this is the difference between earning more money and actually keeping it.